Enjoy yourself, Noodle. I don't know if you'll just, like, hear it as you're doing your stuff. I don't know. Hopefully the voices are semi-distinct enough that you kind of know what's going on. Let's go. Alright, so we've headed to the Great Waterloo Hotel to speak to Professor Mikotaba, Sasato's dad, after our conversation with Van Zieks. Probably around the fact that Gregson is part of, like, a Templar-like group that's, like, acting as the Reaper of the Bailey? Question mark? 2nd of November, Great Waterloo Hotel foyer. I thought it yesterday and I think it again today. This place is so princely. It's a wild guess, but I have a feeling you'll think the same tomorrow too. My tea has a finer fragrance than whatever they're serving in the tea room here, though, wouldn't you say? Ah, look who we have here. This is an unexpected pleasure. Unknown voice. It is Mikotaba. Ah, father. Ooh, is this your daddy, Susie? How lovely. What a charming young lady. And you are? Ah, really? So you're the author of The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, are you? That's me, Iris Wilson, at your service, sir. Susie's been such a wonderful friend to me over the last year, you know. Fuck, is he going to bring up the dad? Oh, shit. Well, Miss Wilson, I must say I read your work regularly and with much interest. Iris actually lives with Mr. Sholmes, you know, father. Is that so? Well, perhaps that goes some way to explaining that bright look in your eye. Hee. You wouldn't be smiling so airily if you knew just how bright she is, believe me. Now then, young Naruhodo, it was a pleasure seeing you in action earlier. As an invitee of the symposium, I was allowed to observe from the gallery, after I twisted some arms. And I must say, it was a truly exemplary performance. Oh, well, thank you very much. Although I'm fairly sure you omitted by Kazuma on the end there. No, please don't misunderstand. It was you who impressed me. Really? You didn't miss a step against Asogi, and we all know how capable he is. Really, to have matured into such a fine defense lawyer in less than a year is quite extraordinary. Very kind of you to say so. Really nice to hear. What I saw in court today confirmed what I've been hoping for. The favor I mentioned yesterday, Naruhodo. I trust you haven't forgotten. Oh, no, you did mention something, didn't you? But first, we have something to report, Father. Of course. Shall we take tea while we discuss matters further? I wonder where Judge Jigoku has gone to. Alright, let's talk to Professor Mikotaba here. About the Reaper. Father, do you know about the so-called Reaper of the Bailey? I've heard rumors. Some members of the judiciary explained it all to me yesterday. Of course, when I was a visiting student here in London, the Reaper was yet to emerge. Right, he didn't appear until after that case when the visiting students had already returned home. Lord Van Zieks, who was in the dock today. That was Barak, the younger brother of Clint Van Zieks, I believe. That's right, and he's known throughout London as the Reaper, as you've heard. But the truth is, it wasn't him behind all those mysterious deaths. It was somebody else. I see. So what you're saying is, there's been a professional killer at work here. Exactly. Someone by the name of Asa Shin, in fact. I beg your pardon? Did you say Asa Shin? You meant that Giselle Brett woman who was responsible for killing my great friend? Oh no, a friend of yours was killed? Oh shit. Don't say his name. Oh no. I don't want this to be how Iris finds out about her dad. Professor Mikotaba, I think perhaps we shouldn't discuss this right now. Because the friend the professor is talking about is Dr. John H. Wilson. And that's not something we want Iris to find out about. Not like this, anyway. Dr. Wilson's death. Ah, I just remembered something. Biscuits. This hotel has the most delicious looking biscuits. She's gonna lure Iris away. That was rather out of the blue. She wants to get Iris away so we can talk. She's doing this deliberately. I think I'll go and see if I can purchase some. I wonder, would you like to come too, Iris? Oh yes. You just try to leave me behind. Okay. Now we can talk. So that young girl. It's called Iris Wilson, is she? Yes, that's right. And she's the author of all those adventure stories starring the great detective Sholmes. But the name of the credited author isn't Iris, is it? It's Dr. John H. Wilson. Yes, I know. That's the name of her father, you see. Her father? Dr. John H. Wilson. I was deeply indebted to the man for all the kindness he showed me during my time in London. That's why I was keen to reciprocate and invite him to the Imperial Yume University 4 years ago. But he was murdered last year by Giselle Brett. Why? Why would the hand of the Reaper stretch all the way to Japan? Iris knows nothing about that case, but it seems very likely that the victim, Dr. Wilson, was her father. Well, I can't say that we ever spoke about his family, so I don't know if he had a daughter or not. But I think I can say with some certainty that he was never the great detective's partner. So it could have been another Dr. Wilson, you think? Hi, Farrell. Well, John and Wilson are both common names after all. You haven't missed N really, Farrell, so far. We've just started speaking to Sasato's dad here, asking him if he knows about the Reaper. We told him about Asa Shin, the Giselle Brett, and Sasato has taken Iris away to look at biscuits while we speak to him, so Iris doesn't hear about her father. That's all you missed. Still, it's probably best not to mention this to the young lady until we can be sure. Yeah, it's gonna come out, I think. Yeah, it depends on when. Like Rinosuke wants to tell her, but not in a situation like this, I think. It's kind of his plan. That's what we thought, yes. We're back with cinnamon biscuits. Oh, they smell delicious, Iris. I think cinnamon will go very well with the tea they serve here. Don't you, Susie? Yes, I'm sure you're right, Iris. Alright, conversation over. Where is Judge Jigoku? He ain't here. I haven't seen Judge Jigoku for a while, have you? Guilty! Ha 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 ha! But that guilty is still ringing in my ears. No, now you mention it, I haven't seen him since this morning either. I suppose since the symposium's opening was postponed, you'll have gone to explore the Great Exhibition. That reminds me of something you mentioned yesterday. About Judge Jigoku having once been in the dock himself? Ah yes, it was all tied up with that accursed trial. The closed trial of Kazuma's father. Seishiro was trying to mitigate Genshin's guilt, so he took to the stand to testify. But he got a little carried away and, actually managed to break the witness stand. Welcome back, Dylan. Oh my. He also said some contemptuous words about the British Empire, for which he was charged. Gota. Oh dear. Although it's worryingly easy to imagine him doing that. Well, it was alright in the end. He was acquitted and we returned home to Japan together. Thank goodness. Ah yes, talking of Seishiro. I have a copy of the photograph we all took together here yesterday. Please. Oh, what a lovely picture. Certainly seems to shout we've arrived in Britain. Oh shit. Right, why do we need a photograph of us with Judge Jigoku and Professor Migo Taba, hey? That's gonna come back. I can remember the photograph. A photograph taken in the foyer of the Great Waterloo Hotel on the morning of Professor Migo Taba and Judge Jigoku's arrival in London for the symposium. None of us had any idea what was coming when we took that, did we? No, not that's... No, that's so true. Alright, last thing, the favor that he wants us to do. So, you mentioned a favor that you'd like to ask me. Well, this fateful trial that you're fighting, one way or another, it will be over before long. And when it is, I'd like you to accompany me back to Japan. You want me to do... What? But, Father, what's the meaning of this? Now, Sato, you should understand. You've seen how our courts work firsthand. Japan's judicial system is in its infancy, especially when it comes to defense. Oh, you mean the Supreme Court of Judicature is in desperate need of a good defense lawyer. As soon as possible. Really quite urgently, in fact. But I've not even been to in London a year yet. I've read all Sasato's reports. I'm well aware of your extraordinary talents. And having seen you in action with my own eyes earlier today, there's no question. You, Naruhodo, are precisely the man our country needs. I think Ryunosuke is Phoenix Wright's ancestor, I think. Maybe they're unrelated. I think they're meant to be very distantly related. So, you'd be leaving then, Runo. But then, what am I supposed to do, Father? You came here to serve as Asuki's judicial assistant. Oh yes, she's supposed to be Kazuma's assistant. Our government is still in the process of deciding how best to deal with this situation, though. You've always chosen your own path, Sasato. And I trust your judgment. In this matter also. Father. Playing this season of Overwatch? Hope you're enjoying. Please, a pair of you, don't look so downcast. It's merely a suggestion, you understand. A hope, if I'm honest. But I won't force you. All I ask is that you consider it, and come to a decision by this time this trial concludes. Don't spoil what's in the battle pass yet, Feral. Noodle hasn't seen it yet. There's some good skins in it. Yes, alright. You won't leave, will you, Bruno? Oh, Pariros. That hadn't even crossed my mind. Up until now, I've just been trying to do what I believe to be Kazuma's will. But it turns out that he's still alive, so where does that leave me? Well, if you'll excuse me now, I need to telegram government ministers and the Japanese police with this information about Asashin. Of course, Father. Thank you. I look forward to next month's installment, Miss Wilson. Oh, good, and please, do come to Baker Street sometime, won't you? We'd love to entertain you. I would be delighted. The best of luck for tomorrow, Naruhodo. And give my suggestion your full consideration, won't you? Yes, I will. Going back home? You know, Kazuma-sama's always meant a great deal to my father. I'm sure he'd love the chance to meet with him and talk to him about all this. Yes, no doubt. Asashin, who's this? Of course, it's so obvious. That's Sholmes, yeah. How could I have neglected to consider the possibility before now? Ah, Mr. Sholmes. Hurley, where have you been? Why, I joined you all for tea, of course. What an extraordinary question. I didn't notice you at all. No matter, no matter. Anyway, to more pressing concerns. Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, yes? I must dispatch a telegram to your country at once. It is a matter of much urgency. To Japan, you mean? Tell me, to whom can I entrust the task? Quickly now, who? Well, my father has just now left to send a telegram to the Imperial Police Bureau of Japan himself. I see. Well, he looked reliable enough for a bearded fellow. I don't think what father's sports could be considered a beard, Mr. Sholmes. There's not a moment to lose. Kindly ask your trusty unshaven father to see this is sent. I will, but what is it? No questions at this time, if you please, Mrs. Sato. All we can do is pray that for once, my deduction is awry. What's he find? Doesn't that imply that your deductions are normally correct, Mr. Sholmes? Which isn't exactly... Now then, you may be surprised to learn that I'm a very busy man. I certainly have no time to hide behind settees and eavesdrop on other people's conversations. So that's what joining us for tea meant. I leave the sending of this in your hands then, my dear fellows. And away goes, huh? Ah, wait a minute, Mr. Sholmes. He sort of ran off, didn't he? At quite a pace. And left the unpaid bill for his tea behind too. What a scoundrel, huh? I must catch up with father at the telegraph office. At once. And I'll run and call us a cab. Straight away. Off they go. And there was me thinking how everyone would be clamouring to pay Mr. Sholmes' bill. Rip, huh? Alright, so we need to head to the hospital at St. Sinners to see Mr. Vigil. Let's go. Second November, St. Sinners Hospital, Ward 3. This is the ward where Mr. Vigil was brought, apparently. To be frank. Hey, Jipmind, how's the game? Fantastic. We're on adventure 4 out of 5 right now, so we're in the later stages of the game. It's really good, though. The plot of this one is very connected with the plot of the previous game. St. Sinners. Yeah. It's really good. I really like the Ace Attorney games. It's been a ton of fun. I don't know if you heard yesterday, Noodle. I don't think I spoke to you. I think you were in bed. On stream yesterday, I was talking about the Ace Attorney trilogy, where it's like the first 3 games that are on PC and modern consoles, and how I look forward to streaming them. And I was like, I really hope they plan to do a second trilogy for the games. Oh, G Barry. Oh, okay. Is that your Discord name, Barry, as well? Like you're the one you claimed? Okay. We're saying it's just yesterday, Noodle. I was really hoping to do a collection for 4, 5, and 6, and right after stream yesterday, it was the Capcom showcase, and it was the Capcom showcase right after stream, and there was barely anything new in it. The one big thing new was they confirmed they're doing a second trilogy of 4, 5, and 6. I'm like, fucking yes, I'm so happy. It was by changing my first name, last initial. Okay. Yeah, it's really good. If you've never played the Ace Attorney games, Barry, I don't know if you have or not. They're really good. They're quite long, because they're visual novels, really. But the style is fantastic. The characters are always really good. The dialogue is really witty and well written. They're just fantastic games overall. Seen a playthrough years ago that I enjoyed. So this is, so there are the 6 like modern day games, which are all about Phoenix Wright. And these 2 here, the Great Ace Attorney games. So there's the first one is the Great Ace Attorney Adventures, and this is the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. So they are set in the same world. They're just like centuries in the past. And they're really, really good. They're really fantastic. So we're getting towards the end of the second one now. The first one was really good. This one's also been really good. So yeah, overall, very good time. Until the Phoenix Wright ones, I think. Yeah, I plan to play. I played a little bit of them, maybe all the first game, which is the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, the first one. But I'll be replaying it on stream. I haven't played it in a long time, about 10 years or so. But some stage in the future, we'll be playing that. So yeah, thanks for stopping by, man. It's always appreciated. Alright. To be frank, I'm a little worried about seeing him again. Is he here? There he is. Ah, the lawyer. Hello again. Are you feeling better now, Mr. Vigil? Yes, thank you. Somewhat better. I'm so sorry to have caused you to... I mean, it was because of me. If I hadn't exposed your secret and forced you to remember things you'd obviously tried to forget... prosecutor was here until a few moments ago too. You just missed him. Kazuma. Oh, Kazuma beat us to it. He said much the same as you. He was very apologetic. But the truth is, I brought all this upon myself. Please don't think like that. Keeping it from Evie, my wife, all these years, I've carried such a sense of guilt. But that's not the worst of it. Over time, I obviously came to deceive myself as well. You mean, about your dismissal? Looking back now, I'm beginning to think that perhaps Inspector Gregson didn't stumble across me by accident at all. I mean, he compensated me so generously for acting as his stand-in. He was clearly concerned for my well-being and doing what he could to help. But perhaps Gregson knew exactly what had become of Mr. Vigil all along then. I'm sure this is just desserts for 10 years of lies and deception, but it wasn't me that helped the professor escape 10 years ago. It wasn't me. I swear it. I swear it's true. I'm still sus of his ring that we know the professor owned. Oh, Mr. Vigil. I'm sure you'd rather not dredge up even more from your past at this time, but if possible, could you tell us exactly what really happened? I want to. I need to get all this off my chest. I just want someone to tell me what I should have done. Give us a date, say. Converse. Gregson's request. Inspector Gregson was obviously engaged in a special operation of some sort. He was investigating something that even Scotland Yard couldn't know about. Details of the Reaper's marks, yes. It was when he had to carry out those investigations that I would take his identification and impersonate him. You pretend to be the inspector and carry out investigations on his behalf? Oh no, never! A common street peddler couldn't possibly carry out a proper police investigation. All I would do is go to the specified location and make a little hoo-ha. Just something to leave an impression, so everyone there would think a detective called Gregson was here. Yeah, he's creating an alibi, right? So, that's what you were doing on the day prior to the incident? Yes. He asked me to make an appearance at the park on Lime Street for the Red-Headed League event. So, as usual, I flashed the inspector's identification around and was very vocal about my presence. But then you were taken prisoner by those red-headed fraudsters. Yes. So, you would always make a point of showing Gregson's identification and generally being loud. That's what the inspector asked me to do, yes. Well, that's one way of becoming a legendary detective, I suppose. Not a good one, though. And as you know, I suffered this bruising around my neck at their hands. But the following day, they kept their word and released me. Without returning the inspector's identification to you, however. We had arranged to meet in the Fresno Street room at 5 that day so I could report back to the inspector. But at the agreed time, that's when I heard the gunshot. The prison escape. So he apparently tried to escape through the air vents or something, and then that's when they put the collar on him. It was at midnight on the 17th of June, 10 years ago. That was the time scheduled for the execution. But the professor's execution never actually took place, did it? Or rather, the execution itself must have been used to effect the plan of escape. I hardly dare to imagine what a chilling plan it was. Okay. Not his escape, but the professor's escape. Barclay was renowned for being the highest security prison in the country. Everything that went on in or out of that place was searched multiple times. But there was one notable exception. Or rather, one notable loophole. Something that was never questioned. I have a feeling I know what that loophole was now. The coffins into which the bodies of the executed convicts were placed, correct? Yes. Once the coroner had confirmed the death of a condemned convict, the body was taken in his coffin for immediate burial in Lowgate Cemetery just behind the prison. The chief warder first had to sign the necessary papers. And after that, no member of staff was permitted to touch the coffin containing the body again. When executions took place, only the executioner and the coroner were permitted inside the chamber, I would wait in the adjacent room for word that the condemned convict was dead. On that occasion, once I had that confirmation, I went into the mortuary to find a lone coffin, as usual. Ain't fuck not great for studying. Oh, I'm sorry, Noodle. I'm spending all my energy. The procedure was that I would sign the paperwork having checked the coffin, then nail it shut. But for some reason that day, the coffin was already nailed shut. No! I didn't think anything of it at the time. I assumed that my deputy must have checked the coffin and nailed it shut before I arrived. So, you mean, the coffin contained... Yes, I can only imagine that Asogi, having escaped his execution somehow, was alive inside that coffin. The coffin was then taken out through the main gates and deposited in Lowgate Cemetery. Presumably there wouldn't have been enough air inside to breathe for long. So in the early hours following the burial, somebody dug up the coffin again to set Genshin free. But in the end, he was fatally shot in the graveyard anyway. What on earth really happened in Lowgate Cemetery that night, I wonder? I'm afraid I don't really know. All I can say with certainty are two things. Asogi couldn't possibly have escaped that way without help from somebody working in the prison. And that somebody was not me. But what about the ring, lad, though? What about the ring? The convict, Asogi. Obviously you knew the man, then. The professor, I mean. Genshin Asogi. Yes, I remember him well, in fact. Would you mind telling us what you know? Well, having been condemned to death as he was, any contact I had with the man was short, obviously. After that trial, which was carried out behind closed doors, attended only by elite members of the judiciary, they called for his execution to be carried out at the earliest possible opportunity. The outcome of the trial was set from the beginning, wasn't it? It keeps making me sleepy. It was a time of delicate diplomacy when Britain and Japan were in the process of signing an important treaty. That meant that this potentially destabilizing case had to be dealt with swiftly and discreetly. The man had less than a week in total. As I was the chief warder, I oversaw his short stay in the cells until his final hour. I remember being struck deeply by his noble character and incredible resistance. What do you mean exactly? He was a killer of many men, but he was always quiet and polite. He was a gentleman and a man of intellect. In fact, I couldn't bring myself to believe what he had done, so I asked him one day. It was 5 members of the aristocracy whose lives were taken. Were you really responsible? I'm guilty of the unforgivable crime of ending another human's life, yes. He confessed. Didn't say the 5 members, he said he killed someone anyway. The following day, the closed trial took place, and the verdict was no surprise. Guilty. That night, when he was brought back to his cell, I saw something. Something unusual. Something unusual? What? The last will and testament of Genshin Asogi. Asogi's will. As I said, it was on the night following his trial, after he'd been found guilty. I was doing the rounds of the cells, and when I looked into Asogi's, I noticed that he seemed to have a sheet of paper in his hand. Ah, his last will and testament then, presumably. As soon as he noticed me, he hurriedly shoved it behind his back. But why did you find that so unusual? Isn't it normal for a man to pen a will when he knows his death is nigh? Yes, that's true. But there were special conditions to Asogi's incarceration, you see. Did he have any writing utensils? What sort of conditions? Well, even though he was held in a cell designed for condemned inmates, he was allowed to keep his personal effects with him. With one exception. Oh, the opposite then. Really? He was allowed his things? That is unusual, certainly. Of course, he had been convicted of killing 5 members of the aristocracy. But at the same time, he was a guest in our country from the Empire of Japan. The powers that be were determined that his final day shouldn't be needlessly uncomfortable. And what was the exception you mentioned? To the personal effects he was allowed. That's the point. He wasn't permitted to have writing materials. Okay. We got it, basically. Specifically, no pens or paper. So, he was prevented from leaving any written record of what happened to him? Yes. That was the long and short of it. I have no idea where he obtained the paper. Any writing materials should have been confiscated from him upon his incarceration. As I said, he hid the paper behind his back, and then he pleaded with me. What did you just hide behind your back? Please. Please turn a blind eye. This is my lifeline. But you know it's against the rules. You're the only person who's seen. If you just agree to keep quiet, I'll give you the ring. Alright then. What's on the paper? Is this how he... If he was allowed to keep his effect, he would have been able to keep his ring, right? So did he bribe Vigil with the ring? They like let him keep the paper? A last will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now. How can a will be a weapon? Because we don't yet have any evidence that shows Genshin with the ring. All we had was that flashback picture of him and Van Zieks, and that's when I spotted it, but we don't have any tangible proof that that ring belonged to the professor yet. So I decided to pretend I'd seen nothing, and I let him keep his will. But then later, it just seemed to vanish without trace. What? What do you mean it vanished? Did he eat it? It would seem that isn't the end of the story of this mysterious will. The will's disappearance. I was the only person who saw Asugi's will, but somehow it disappeared. It was after Asugi's execution. Which was actually an elaborate jailbreak. The warders gathered up Asugi's possessions that were in his cell. They were all to be sent back to his family home in Japan, you see. Poor Kazuma-sama. You're saying that it wasn't anywhere to be found amongst his personal effects? The will, I mean. That's right. Though I didn't search through them myself. But Governor Caden was livid. He was screaming, "It can't have disappeared completely." That doesn't quite make sense though, does it? In what way? Well, we understood only Mr. Vigil was aware of the will's existence. In which case, how did the prison governor know to look for it? Truth. You catch there, Susato? Oh yes, you're right. I really don't know how he knew. But it certainly seemed as though he knew of the will's existence from the outset. Only he didn't refer to it as a will. What he said was... the Asugi Papers. The Asugi Papers. I really can't tell you anything of the subsequent events. Because, well, of what happened. Your dismissal, and the way you blocked it all from your memory. I've forgotten all this until today. I don't suppose it's relevant to the case, though. Well, anyway, thank you very much for sharing it with us, Mr. Vigil. We're very grateful. Time to get the fuck out of here. I'm afraid there's really little more I can tell you. My wife Evie will be here shortly, so I do hope I don't appear rude, but... No, not at all. Thank you again. What will become of you now? Well, impersonating a police officer is a criminal offense, of course. I imagine that once I'm fully recovered, I shall be arrested. I'm so sorry. Don't be, please. This is all my own doing. I always knew that this day would come. Well, I wish you well. Goodbye, Mr. Vigil. Damn. Ah! Before you go, there's just one thing. Oh, yes? What is it? The Asugi Papers. I'd be very grateful if you'd make no mention of the things I told you about them. Presumably for some good reason. my understanding that their very existence is a closely guarded secret. If it became known that I'd remembered, well, it could be rather troublesome, I think. Oh god. I understand. Zip. Some sort of will that Genshin Asugi penned just before his death, which the man himself claimed was his last weapon. I wonder, perhaps it had something to do with his plan to escape. Interesting. Is there anyone who might know more about a document that Kazuma's father left behind? It would be Mr. Vigil's governor. Let me know precisely where we must go. Back to Barclay Prison. Oh. I can see Scottish man, so. New location's been added. Prison Governor's Office. Second November. Barclay Prison. Governor's Office. Oh, there is. Oh! Back again, are you? Yes. Hello. I've heard about your investigations. I read the report just now. You found him, eh? Vigil. Yes, luckily. Well, anywho. The laddie doesn't work here no more. So your case has nothing to do with Barclay. I wouldn't like you to get the wrong idea about that. Of course, yes. Mr. Vigil stopped working here 10 years ago now, so... Yes, we've seen his dismissal notice, haven't we? He was given the chop. Aye, Kimmer. You can very well. So, how about a wee handcuff biscuits? I forgot his little tiny teacup and his wee biscuits. Oh, they really are like little handcuffs. And as hard as irons, too. Oh, what's brought you doing here today? Well, there's something else we'd like to ask you about, actually. Is that so? We believe there might have been a document that disappeared from Genshin Asugi's cell. I think it's been called the Asugi Papers or something. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. It's gonna get his attention. Did I not say? Gregson's death has nothing to do with things that might have happened at Barclay. Leave the past in the past, laddie. Let's not fiddle about with irrelevant details. Fiddle about. Great. Say fiddle about. His expressions changed completely. We're clearly onto something here. Right. Dredge up the details. 10-year-old legacy. That murderer's botched execution and the whole miserable escape. They were Barclay's darkest hour, aye. A shocking embarrassment. Because the convict had a collaborator on their prison staff, you mean? Aye. For shame. The coroner who confirmed the death of the man after his execution, Courtney Scythe. Which we knew about as well from the last one, right? And my chief warder at the time, Vigil, he was in charge of the whole affair. But Mr. Vigil says he didn't know anything about it. The rascal wouldn't say otherwise, eh? More handcuffs. Oh, how could I say no? You can never have too much iron in your diet. When Mr. Vigil was handed his dismissal notice as a result of what had happened, he was so despairing he jumped out of your office window, didn't he? I didn't like to say, but that's just Vigil trying to get rid of it. You don't think he would have just jumped from the shock of his crimes being exposed, eh? I do. You wouldn't say otherwise, though, would you? Of course. I can't shun all responsibility myself. I shouldn't have let him deceive me. Actually, there's barely anybody that kens what went on at the time now. Where Gregson had been murdered and Dr. Scythe forbidden from having any visitors. No visitors? Someone obviously doesn't want to be giving anything away. Are we going to go see Courtney again? Well, we're not going home empty-handed. And I wouldn't dream of sending you packing without. Come here. Here, take a handcuff or two. Oh, well, if you were to say no, would not become anemic. I suppose. If there's anybody who might still ken about what happened back then, it'd be that lass from the forensic division. Mariah Gorey. That's the person on the autopsy report, right? Yeah, the coroner from Gregson's autopsy report. Yeah. New character. New character. Mariah Gorey? Aye, Scythe's daughter. She didn't have no more, just the one. Oh, interesting. But the wee bairns followed in her mom's footsteps. You didn't ever see her without a scalpel in her hand. Ah. Oh, yes. Mama, what is this? Ah, where'd she spring from? Is she just called the doctor Mama? Dr. Scythe's daughter, Maria Gorey. We could do with talking to her. Gorey. So, she's Dr. Scythe's daughter, but her surname is Gorey? Aye, there's some family history, I'm sure, but I don't ken the ins and outs of it. She grew up watching her mom working with the bodies of folks who died in strange circumstances, and decided to do the same with her own life. I can't understand it myself. Perhaps she was driven by a deep respect for her mother. Perhaps. Anywho, she's in charge of Gregson's autopsy, I believe. Right. And the coroner responsible for this incomplete report. They only didn't put down the time of death. Someone told me once that the wee lassie always loved her mom's stories about cutting up bodies. There's even a rumour that she used to listen to the funeral march as a lullaby. God. Well then perhaps her mother might have told her about the autopsy from the case 10 years ago. Aye, let's say there's a fighting chance at least. After all, that was a life-changing case for all of us. We really need to speak to Miss Gorey herself about this, I think. Well, thank you very much. I'm no happy about any part of this. It took years for Londoners to finally forget the whole professor business. Can you not give up on this, laddie? Stop asking pointless questions. I'm sorry, I don't like dredging up these painful memories for everyone. Can you not just stay away now? Leave me alone and then come back here, eh? But what about the Asuki papers, though? How'd you come to ken about that, laddie? There's no many folk know here, even here in the prison, who've heard of those papers. Well, I can't tell, Mr. Vigil told me. I'm afraid our sources must remain confidential, sir. We've been led to believe the papers are actually a last will and testament. Is that right? The professor's, or rather, Genshin Asugi's. Aye, that's right. You're well informed, Jimmy. Oh, at the end of the silent treatment. But then after the convict's execution, it mysteriously vanished from his cell, didn't it? Havers, no. You're off at half-cock there. I think you didn't quite get your facts straight. It was there in the cell, exactly where it should have been. Oh. Not what we heard elsewhere. So who has them then? Oh, he has them. Oh, shit. Let me just have a wee hook around in here. I'm sure I can find it. Aye, here you are. See? Oh shit, he actually has them. The Last Will and Testament of Genshin Asugi. Written with a calligraphy brush. Of course, I can't read a word of those Japanese squiggles. But I mind it says he leaves all his worldly possessions to his son back in his homeland. Yes, that's correct. That's the gist of it. These are the Asuki papers? Aye, of course they are. Papers written by Asuki, no doubt about it. There's no mystery here, laddie. That's your lot. Is there more? After all this skirmish to this Leicester of execution, we sent the man's possessions back to his clan in Japan, and that was the end of it. I think we ought to make a record of this, Mr. Naruhodo, just in case. The Asugi papers, the last will and testament of Genshin Asugi that Mr. Vigil claims disappeared after the convict's execution. Apparently Mr. Asugi described it as the only weapon I have left. One thing before you go on your way, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, yes? Those papers are not to do with Gregson's death. I'd prefer if you didn't make no mention of them outside this office. Or rather, I wouldn't just prefer it. Consider it an order from the highest levels of our government. I understand. I'm going to do it anyway. Right. Let's have a look. I don't know why we have this photo. It's making me concerned. Reno's case face. Beautiful. Last will and testament of Genshin Asugi. I, Genshin Asugi, hereby request that upon my death, any and all material possessions and wealth belonging to me in London be delivered to my son, Kazuma Asugi, in the Empire of Japan. It is with deep sadness that I accept my fate in this foreign land and the knowledge that I will never see my homeland or family again, but I regret nothing about my chosen path. Sholmes' sweet Chief Justice's office. And for Van Zieks? I don't think so. Maybe Sholmes' office. Well, ideally we want to speak to Dr. Scythe's daughter. Maybe Lord Chief Justice might know where she is. Lord Strongheart. Oh, there's Kazuma. 2nd November. British Supreme Court. Lord Chief Justice's office. No arguments, Prosecutor Asugi. You will continue with the trial exactly as I instructed. Is that clear? Perfectly. It's Kazuma-sama. The fine Lord Strongheart by the sound of it. Never did know when to back down. Uh-oh. On your way now, Asugi. My lord. Hello, Kazuma. Kazuma. Damn. No chat. Really have to without saying a word. Here comes Miss Lord Strongheart. Yes. What are you doing here? Oh, well, I was just hoping to ask you a few questions, if you wouldn't mind. Oh, look at his watch again. I wanted Van Ziek's trial concluded today. But Prosecutor Asugi's unwelcome inquiries are going to make it take longer than necessary. Unwelcome inquiries? As a result, I'm losing even more precious time. Currently 2 hours, 55 minutes and 41 seconds. 42, 43. Then we must resolve everything before the 3 hours have passed, Mr. Naruhodo. In a miraculous not even 5 minutes. Anyway, I can't let the man's obvious bad mood put me off. I need information. Right, can we ask about Maria? The Reaper. Does Prosecutor Asugi believe that Lord Van Zieks is the Reaper? I wouldn't know. It was 10 years ago, in that fateful closed trial, that Lord Van Zieks made a name for himself among the judiciary. But the next trial he fought, he lost. It meant the ringleader of a criminal organization was acquitted, thanks to all the jurors being under duress. That's awful. The man's freedom was short-lived. He lasted just 3 days. Yes, let me see. He died in a rock slide at his place of work, I believe. Correct. That was the inauguration of the Reaper of the Bailey. And people believe Lord Van Zieks was responsible? He was brought to trial himself, but it was shown to have been an accident. So he must have had a solid alibi then. Nevertheless, the mysterious deaths continued. In total, 16 persons perished in unusual circumstances, ostensibly at the hand of the Reaper. That's a long run of coincidences. Well, the Reaper's true identity may well be revealed by this trial. And the impact that revelation would have on the British public cannot be understated. Is that why it's a closed trial? Precisely. Closed trial. Speaking of, this country hasn't seen a closed trial for 10 years. So the last one was the Professor's, the trial of Genshin Asugi? Correct. Actually, we heard that originally you were going to prosecute that trial yourself, Lord Strongheart. Van Zieks entreated me to relinquish the prosecution to him, that he might avenge his brother's death. And here we are, 10 years later. With the son of the man Van Zieks had condemned now looking to avenge his father's death in the same way. Do you say that what goes around comes around? However, it would seem that the new young prosecutor is harboring some ulterior motive as well. Kazuma is. I'd like my organization to run smoothly, in the exact manner that I prescribe. As with the giant clock in here, I won't tolerate a single cog being out of step with the others. So that's what all these gears are about in here. If the young man refuses to mesh with the other parts of my great machine, I will be forced to take steps. What do you mean? Not something with which you need concern yourself. Oh god. In any case, all your questions will be answered tomorrow. Now, I shall have to ask you to excuse me. As of this moment, I have been delayed from attending my next meeting by precisely 3 hours. Oh my, that is a long time. And I hold you entirely responsible. Even though we miraculously managed to fit everything into not even 5 minutes. I wonder if you might agree to us, talking with Prosecutor Asugi. Discussions between the defense and the prosecution outside of the courtroom are generally frowned upon. However, I will make an exception in this case. Now go. You can find him in his office. Oh, thank you. Alright, let's go speak to Kazuma. Let's go to see him at once, Mr. Naruhodo. Kazuma's my best friend in the world, but I'm really not at all sure I know how to talk to him at the moment. Let's go. New location been added. Prosecutor's office. The private office of Lord Barak van Zieks within the prosecutor's office building. For the time being, however, it has become the workplace of Kazuma Asugi. Let's go. Second November, prosecutor's office. Also a little diorama of the crime scene. So, this is the office of Prosecutor Asugi now, is it? Kazuma-sama's doing so well for himself. Even though he's always forced to kneel on the floor Japanese style in that dark corner. That's right, whenever he was wearing his outfit or his mask, he would always be over there. It's his habit to set Seiza style whenever he's working. Oh, there he is. Got his Kingdom Hearts style chessboard by his desk. Kazuma. I thought it wouldn't be long before you paid me a visit, Ryunosuke. I was right about what I said, wasn't I? Sorry? That you have all the makings of a great defense lawyer. Well, I always believed that you'd fulfill your dream of advocating in the British courts. I just never imagined for 1 second that it would be as a prosecutor. Seeing you stand in a foreign courtroom, so gallantly realizing your dream, Kazuma-sama, I'm truly happy for you. And I am truly thankful to you, Judicial Assistant Mikutaba. Ryunosuke, I always thought it would be fun for you and I to shake up the British legal system a little together. This isn't quite how I envisaged it, but I suppose it's just another twist of fate. I've learned a lot of things during my time in London. About how Susato-san's father was himself a visiting student here once, along with Judge Shigoku. And about what happened with your father. Then you'll have no difficulty understanding why I had no choice. Why I had to find out a way to get to Britain as a visiting student myself. I want to hear from you, Kazuma. As you wish, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Alright. Your disappearance. Oh, we're getting all the details now. It's getting on for a year now, since what happened on the SS Buria. We were heading across the oceans from Japan to Great Britain, when a bizarre series of coincidences led to those tragic events. I thought I lost my best friend forever. I must have been unconscious for a long time. When I awoke, I was lying on a bed. It was a narrow little room. There was a posy of flowers by the pillow. It took me a little while to realize that I was in the cabin of a ship. I slipped out of the room and headed up onto the deck. Were you already suffering from amnesia at that point? Yes. I didn't know what had happened or where I was. It was just this voice in my head. You have something you have to do. Something no one else can know about. Go to Great Britain. Your task awaits you there. It was a calling I couldn't ignore. It compelled me relentlessly. Out on the deck, I saw that I was on a huge steamship and we were docked in a large port. It must have been Hong Kong. That's right, he got from Hong Kong. Yes, it must have been. Presumably just before they were due to carry your body off the ship. I had no idea of the situation, but I did have the feeling that this was in some way my last chance. So I concealed myself among the disembarking passengers and went ashore. Then I disappeared into the crowded streets of that foreign port city, so I could plan my onward journey to Great Britain. Your journey to Britain. Just under a year ago, with all my past memories lost to me, I was left behind in Hong Kong. Everything was foreign to me. The sights, the sounds, the smells. My head reeled. I was truly at a loss. I realized now that I'd escaped as a dead man, with nothing but the clothes on my back. No money, of course. Oh, how terrifying for you. Luckily, though, I had 2 feathers in my cap. One being your knowledge of English, I suppose. That's right. And on the back of that, I was able to pick up some work as the deckhand on a cargo ship. Eventually, after calling at countless ports, I finally arrived at Dover. That must have been some 3 months ago now. Your formidable tenacity of purpose showing itself again. I mean, the man had lost his memory and had literally nothing to his name, but he still managed to make his way to London on the opposite side of the world. Of course, I had no idea why I'd moved heaven and earth to get here at that point. So, how did you end up becoming Lord Van Deek's apprentice then? That can only be called an extraordinary stroke of luck, really. You see, I was stopped at the border because I had no papers. They took me straight to Scotland Yard. And by sheer coincidence, Lord Strongheart was there to attend the meeting. That's when the second feather in my cap came into play. Would that have been your knowledge of the law? Yes, exactly. Lord Strongheart was curious about an Easterner with intimate knowledge of British law. He took me back with him to the Supreme Court and assigned me to the prosecutor's office. And then, 9 days ago, you finally got your memory back after the trial involving Drebber. Like when he took off his mask at the end of the trial, right? Yes, I did. Dun, 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 dun. Your father, Genshin. Ever since I first met you at Yume, you talked about your dream. Mark my words, Inosuke. I'll be chosen as a visiting student and make my way to Great Britain someday. Did you know the entire time about what happened to your father? 16 years ago. That's a cute photo. When my father left on that exciting trip to Great Britain, I was just a boy. We took a photograph together the day before his departure. It's my last memory of him. But what I remember most about my father is his unswerving sense of justice. 6 years after he left, a gentleman called at our family home. He told me that Genshin, my father, had been taken ill in England and passed away. It was Professor Mikutaba, your father, Susaru-san. Oh my. Ever since then, the professor was very good to me. He even helped me fund my university education at Yume. I'll be forever in his debt. That's right, Professor Mikutaba told him that his father just passed away. Didn't tell him that he was like the professor or anything like that. But nevertheless, I just couldn't bring myself to believe what he told me. Oh. Then one day a letter arrived at our house from Britain. There was no indication of the sender, so I opened it assuming it was from an old acquaintance of my father. Was it his, belongings, maybe? What I read in that letter changed my entire life. What did it say? It said that my father had been a mass murderer, and that writer cursed the Asugi name. Oh no! As a result of that letter, I found out what had been hidden from me all those years. Letter from Britain. Was this from Van Zieks, maybe? Presumably the letter was sent from a relative of one of the victims. If whoever it was had been a member of the judiciary, he could have been present at the closed trial. The letter revealed that my father had been sentenced to death, executed for being a killer. I'm so sorry I had to find out that way. I imagine the British government did its very best to silence whoever sent that letter, but someone who knew the truth and couldn't bear the resentment was always going to be a problem. But still, it could have been written by anyone. Why would you believe such a thing? There was a newspaper cutting included with the letter. It was the first I'd ever heard of the professor and his terrible killing spree. Well, what did my father have to say about the letter? I couldn't bring myself to show it to him. What? Why not? Because he deliberately concealed the truth from me by telling me my father was taken by a fatal illness. That couldn't have been easy for him, and he'd done it out of consideration for my feelings. So instead, I showed the letter to Judge Jigoku, to the other visiting student. He faltered for the briefest of moments, but then he just laughed the letter off. But in that moment, I saw it on his face. He was undeniably shocked, shaken momentarily before recovering his poise. A year later, my bereaved mother succumbed to the strain of grief, and she too passed away. That's when I made up my mind that one day, without fail, I would cross the seas to Britain and seek the truth for myself. The truth about my father, Genshin Asugi. And I wouldn't let anyone stand in my way. Oh, Kazuma-sama. Damn, huh? The Reaper's trial. What we learned today in court turned things completely on their head. It was an impressive piece of lawyering, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Lord Van Zieks isn't the Reaper, you know. I almost don't want to believe it myself, but it turns out that Inspector Gregson himself, the victim, was... It's clear the Inspector was behind the Reaper's activity all along. What? You mean, you knew? The real question is, who's been giving orders to the Inspector? Yes, Barak Van Zieks is the real Reaper. I don't believe it. And I know that 10 years ago, it was him who decided my father must be a mass murderer and sent him to his grave. No, he was merely seeing that justice was done as the law dictates. He's not to blame. Ultimately, it's people who condemn people. The law is just a tool that they use to do it. Roro. And when a man condemns another, he must take responsibility for his actions. Of course he must. But I know for certain that my father would never have taken another man's life. Kazuma. On the contrary, my father's life was taken by the Reaper. We show him the papers, maybe? Kazuma, what do you make of this? There's only one place where defense lawyers and prosecutors should discuss evidence. The courtroom. Ah, damn, he's done talking. So it seems you're still confused by the situation. That's what I make of it. I get the feeling my friend's always going to have the edge of me, isn't he? Damn. What about the crime scene room? Is there anyone here? Maybe Gina? 2nd November. Room on Fresno Street. Nope. Yeah. Look around. Nothing really new. Anything new with Van Zieks at the prison? We show him the hippers. What's that? It's just something I was hoping to ask your opinion about, that's all. Oh, it's just the standard, I don't have anything to say response. Where else can we go? Sholmes' Suite, I guess? Just Iris. Maybe if we go up to the consultancy and see if we can ask Sasato. Welcome back, Doodle. I'm kind of at a loss here. I think we've been everywhere. Are you sure we've asked everything we need to, Mr. Naruhodo? Okay, so it's obviously something we need to press. Come on. No salty snacks? Rip. Bum 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 bum. Through the Reaper board? No. What if we examine the crime scene behind him? What the? It's a scale model of the crime scene. Oh, yes, I realize that. Does the prosecution office make a model of the scene for every single case? Apparently so. Sometimes it helps to visualize things better and notice things you hadn't spotted before. Actually, the miniature notice board is my work. Be honest, you enjoy making that. Oh shit, that didn't help. There's Lord Von Zeke's incredibly stylish desk. It's not my style, though. No, I noticed you've been working at the little table on the floor, kneeling down Caesar style. I thought it was some kind of punishment set up by Lord Von Zeke's when I first saw it. I find it the most comfortable way to work. I can't do it. After a couple of minutes of sitting with my legs folded under me, they start to go tingly. Don't exaggerate, Rinosuke. We both know you can't even manage a minute. Every so often the friendship leaks through, you know. Bum 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 bum. I think we've seen this painting before, haven't we? Do you know who the man in the portrait is? Why would I? What? But you're Lord Von Zeke's apprentice. Yes, apprentice, not friend. And during the time I was suffering from amnesia, I didn't even notice that picture. Oh, really? I mean, not the smallest picture. I wouldn't have the first idea what the man decorates his office with. We need to ask some more of Kazuma, but I don't know what. We must have to show him something. From the armband, maybe? Kazuma. This is your armband. Actually, I think it's yours now. Sorry? You're the defense lawyer. You have a talent for it. I've always known that you would. And now, you've chosen to take that path in life. As your friend, I couldn't be happier for you. Or more proud. Kazuma. So you keep hold of that. Besides, I'm a prosecutor now. That armband would have no meaning for me. Well, if you're sure. Thank you, my friend. Somebody asking about something, though? This picture, maybe? No. I don't know what they have to ask him about. There's definitely more to get from here, right? Are you sure we've asked everything we need to? Nope, didn't mean to go to the office again. What if we go to the hotel? Is there anyone there again, or is it cleared out? It's cleared out. Anything else in the hospital? Can we talk to him and show him the papers, maybe? Well, at least he seems to be on the mend. Oh. You know, his disguise as Mr. Gossip was really quite masterful, wasn't it? I can't remember anything about it except for the floppy lip. I imagine not even his wife would have recognized him. Perhaps, but did he really have to take it quite so far? We can't even talk to him. So, there are lots of bottles in that cabinet there, aren't there? You think it's safe to keep them there? Hehe. If you were a patient here, I feel sure you'd take some medicine by mistake when you were half asleep. That is a worry, but at least the cabinet has a lock, even though it's only a flimsy-looking one. I've no doubt you managed to unlock that somehow while you were half asleep as well. There are limits even to what I'm able to do when I'm half asleep, you know, Mrs. Sato. I can't show the papers to him then? Made bread? What? I don't know where we're going here. We have to ask more stuff of Kazuma, but I just don't know what. This heat is making me sleepy. Lord Van Zeke's fine collection of hallowed chalices and bottles all neatly lined up. Oh, sandwich, okay. Yes, he's extremely particular about all that. He has a strict regime for everything, from the storage of the casks to the bottling of their contents. Gosh, he must have been having a really tough time about being his apprentice. Actually, no. Oh? He's so particular about it all, he refuses to let anybody else touch any of it. So, it's been quite easy for me, in fact. Talk about weird. What else could we present to Kazuma to get more information out of him? The photograph of Mr. Vigil, the letter of introduction, the dismissal notice, the framed photograph, the candelabrum, the policeman figure, the revolver, the hairpiece. Maybe this photo with the three of them in it? Nope. He doesn't want to see any of my evidence. Yeah, maybe he can help us find Dr. Side's daughter. This came up in the trial, didn't it? Something a little dubious, I mean. The fact that no time of death was recorded on Inspector Gregson's autopsy report. Yes, there were some unexpected turns in the courtroom earlier. The suggestion you came up with certainly took everyone by surprise. The idea that the victim died the previous day at some other location is quite something. Well, considering when the pocket watch had stopped and the scorch marks on the candle, it's certainly a distinct possibility. The evidence on the scene both point to it. To be honest, it bothered me too. So I paid a visit to the autopsy room earlier. Right, that's where we need to go. The coroner responsible wasn't there, but I got a name. It's Dr. Gori. Yep. If it wouldn't trouble you, Kazuma-sama, we'd very much like to speak with the coroner too. Of course. The last thing I want is for anything to be brushed under the carpet. Scotland Yard's autopsy laboratory is behind Lowgate Cemetery. Lowgate Cemetery? By Barclay Prison, you mean? Ah, you know what to do. The prison where my father was incarcerated and robbed of his life. Kazuma-sama. Well, thank you. We'll pay a visit to the laboratory later today. There we go. Now we got everything we needed. Ryunosuke. I want to thank you. What for? For this. There's his old theme again. You've safeguarded the soul of the Asuki clan. Well, this famous sword's been in your family for generations. My only slight regret is that I never got the chance to draw it before I returned it to you. Karuma is said to have been forged by a master swordsmith during the Sengoku Warring States period. I come from a long lineage of warriors, many of whom are expert swordsmen. Well, then you tip off the old block, I'd say. This blade, Karuma, is a symbol of the Asuki clan's honor and might. Apparently, one of my father's apprentices even took the blade's name for a surname. Really? Karuma? Does sound formidable, that's for sure. 16 years ago, when my father was a visiting student here in London, he had this sword forever at his side, which is why it means so much to me that I have it by my side again now too. And that is all thanks to you. It was an honor. Nice interaction. Now, I have preparations to make for tomorrow. Perhaps I said a little too much. Kazuma, you changed. No, Rinosuke. I haven't changed at all. It's you who's changed. I can completely understand your resentment of Lord Van Zieks given what happened. But the fact is, those events in this case are, well, unrelated. Is that what you wanted to say? How can you be so sure? What do you mean? Never mind. That man is the Reaper, and it's for that reason that the inspector was killed. I'm going to prove as much in court tomorrow, by whatever means necessary. I can't let you do that, Kazuma. I know you'll do what you have to as a lawyer, but I'm sure I don't need to tell you that I won't be taking any prisoners in the courtroom. I'd expect nothing less. Until tomorrow, then, in the Old Bailey. Yeesh. Well. Forensics laboratory. A forensic science laboratory in the basement of the St. Sinners Hospital. Dr. Gorey has taken Dr. Scythe's place as chief scalpel wielder. Let's go. November, Forensics Laboratory. I don't know if all these dolls were here before. I don't think so. This place really is creepy, isn't it? Well, being a dead room, it's probably full of the spirits of the dissected. But actually, there's a rather pleasing scent of roses in the air. Well, being a dead room, the coroner probably needs a bold scent like that to mask the odor of death. Iris, do you think we could change the subject? God. What was that? There she is. Dr. Gorey. She's wearing her Plague Doctor mask again, probably, right? What? That noise before. I was sharpening my tools. I'd be dead meat if I didn't keep a perfectly clean edge on them. Right. And following the collagen fibers in the dermis, an expertly sharpened scalpel cuts like cheese. Would you like a demonstration? Well, we've only ever seen this girl like very, very briefly. Like when we first came here to see Dr. Scythe, this girl appeared and then ran off. We don't know what her face looks like, and we've only ever briefly encountered her. But her design, I'm already like, I'm on board. I was a big fan of Dr. Scythe though. This is it's her daughter, yeah. Yep, this is her daughter. Courtney Scythe and Maria Gorey. Would you like a demonstration? Oh, yes, please. I love to see. The options are not too vast, eh? Then, I think you'll do nicely. Oh, no, I wouldn't do nicely at all. I mean, maybe some other time. Is that a tut? Well, we came here to ask questions, so... It's like a... like, I'm so curious. You know. My So, not counting the other Ace Attorney games that I've played, the modern day ones, my current Ace Attorney waifu is the witch lady from Madame Two Spell. She's my current Ace Attorney waifu. Time of death. We have actually met before. I'm a lawyer, if you remember. You're not dead yet. What? So Mama said I wasn't to cut you open. She's so strict about things like that. Well, good. Dr. Scythe has some scruples at least. Oh dear. It looks like she's not interested in talking to us. For the time being, anyway. For the time being? You mean until we die? I hope that's a way off. Sorry, but I wasn't planning on dying anytime soon. Surely there's some less drastic way of making her listen. Talk about her dolls or something, maybe? This looks different to before. Of course, Mr. Naruhodo. Miss Gori is a young maiden. She has all sorts of charming little dolls and the like around her place of work. Look. Oh, yes, you're right. Perhaps she's not so strange after all. They're how I practice. Oh, Jesus. Like Sid from Toy Story, eh? Sorry? Mama always says that operations and dissections require speed and accuracy. So I take out my needle and thread and stitch 3 new dolls every day. Oh, right. I used to make livers or kidneys or intestines, but Mama told me to make something more friendly instead. That's quite different to what I'd imagined. Backup mask. Oh, look at this, what a magnificent display case. The cherry wood has been polished to a high sheen, and the intricate carving is a joy to behold. Western cabinet makers really are very skilled, aren't they? I thought I was trying to examine the mask, not the skeleton. It's 10 people. Pardon? It's made from the bones of 10 different people, all mixed together. Some of my best work. Lord. Get me out of here! Ah! I was admiring the case, actually. The scary skeleton inside is something I intend to ignore as best I can. You're strange. I wonder who is the strangest. Right, if we show her the autopsy report, maybe we can ask her about the missing time of death. Dr. Gori, we actually came here to ask you about this. He was very good. Good? Sorry? His skin didn't snag my blade once, and very little mess. His joints dislocated easily, and his muscle tissue was a pleasure to work with. But we can skip those details. But there is one thing about the report that's caught my attention. You don't seem to have recorded the time of death. Oops. Oh. That's not my fault. Like, Lolicon vibes? Like Baby Metal is what I'm getting. Oh, they made me jump. Then please, tell us what happened. Time of death. Thumbs up this time. So, why doesn't this autopsy report include the victim's time of death then? It's really the most crucial detail. Oh. I was told not to write it. What's the one? What am I looking for then? Oh, there's like a word for that, right? I want to say like Gotharita, but that's a Pokemon. Lolita, there. Sorry, yes. Yeah, Lolicons are fucking lollies. I wouldn't deal with that shit here. Lolita is what I was looking for, yeah. She was told not to write it. What? By whom? Where you look like a small child. I see. Lolita is what I was thinking of. I had a very like specific image in my mind, but I couldn't think the word. Male Strongheart, the Lord Chief Justice, he came here. So Strongheart asked not to put the time on it time? Lord Strongheart came? He said that from the witness statements about the gunshot and the other evidence, it was obvious. The man clearly died at 5 PM on the 1st of November, when the gunshot was heard. So Strongheart is trying to... hide the time of death? What's he up to? And put it away. But that's not the time of death you wrote on the report. You didn't write anything. Was there some reason you didn't include it? Because it's not right, obviously. Dr. Gory, if you're hiding something under Lord Strongheart's instructions, then sooner or later, you're going to go the same way as your mother. Give it here, then. Just gonna put the time on it. She's scribbling so furiously. There. You've written... What? What's you written? Tell us! Indeterminate. But... According to the coroner, Dr. Gory, an accurate estimation of the time of death is not possible. Indeterminate. What do you mean by that? Why was the time of death indeterminate? When the specimen was brought in, it was still fresh, so the time of death could easily have coincided with when the gunshot was heard. But there was one small discrepancy. What discrepancy? There was some fried fish in the pocket of the specimen's overcoat. And that fish had started to rot. He would have eaten that shit thing. What? If the victim liked fried fish, he presumably liked to eat it before it went off. Well, yes. What are you really trying to say? It's possible that someone tried to manipulate the apparent time of death. Manipulate the... Is that even possible to do? Theoretically, if you were to chill the body in ice, you could delay the onset of putrefaction. Rip the fish and chid, huh? The fucking sales of fish and chips in London are going to plummet, huh? You could delay the onset of putrefaction. And if the overcoat wasn't on the body at the time, then only the fish would have started to rot. With today's science, it's not yet possible to determine if the body was chilled or not. But today's science is advanced enough to let you freeze a corpse, it seems. But surely, to chill a corpse like that would require an enormous electrical refrigerator. And I don't imagine many households in London are equipped with such a device. No, definitely not, but maybe in a factory? Or some other special places. I don't recall seeing any factories or such like on Fresno Street, though. I wonder, if the inspector's body had been chilled somehow, what might the actual time of death have been? I couldn't say for sure. But at the most, it might have been a day earlier. No. In other words, it would corroborate your previous deduction, Mr. Naruhodo. That Inspector Gregson was killed the day before his body was discovered, at a different location. Did you inform Lord Strongheart of this possibility? He simply said that there were no electrical refrigerators of that size in the vicinity. Lord Strongheart is burying this thing? Oh yes, one other thing. It's something the governor of Barclay Prison told us. He said that your mother, Dr. Scythe, was responsible for confirming the death of the professor after his execution. The professor. Apparently you always enjoy listening to your mother's stories about her work, so we were wondering if you might know something about what happened 10 years ago. That's not all Mama did. Sorry? My Mama carried out the autopsy of Clint Van Zieks as well. Oh. Barrock's brother. What? Really? The brother of Lord Van Zieks, the professor's final victim. The idea of carrying out an autopsy on a member of the aristocracy was completely unthinkable back then. But the detective in charge of the investigation insisted and it was miraculously authorized. That detective being Inspector Gregson, of course. Quite an accomplishment for one man. The autopsy provided the vital clue needed to arrest the killer. And Mama was there for that historic event. What does all this mean? You know, that amazing autopsy happened right here in this very room. The Professor and Clint Van Zieks. They both spent their final moments before their burial at the section table there. So this lab, Mama's lab, was instrumental in some of the country's most important events. She really is proud of her mother. I wonder if you tell us more about exactly what happened back then, Dr. Gorey. Her outfit reminds me of Shinobu from Demon Slayer. Like the purple of like her inner part. And like the butterfly on her waist. And even like her hair piece as well reminds me of it. Confirmation of death. The Professor's execution was Mama's first big case. She had to be in attendance at Barclay Prison's execution chamber and sign the certificate to confirm the convict's death. Mama is the best coroner in the world, you know. I was so proud of her. But the execution didn't actually take place. No, and worse still, Mama actually helped with the jailbreak. I didn't want to know. Oh dear. You found out recently, you mean? I believed in her, in Mama, but now I wonder if I'm starting down the same path as her. I mean, because you omitted the time of death in this autopsy report. No. Redeem Maria. Don't let her become corrupted. But that's because Lord Strongheart forbade you from including it. Just like Mama, I'm sure she was coerced by somebody too. Yes, that's my feeling as well. There's no doubt that there were more powerful forces at play 10 years ago. The execution couldn't have been staged without a lot of people at the prison knowing about it. Obviously, the prison governor must have been in on it as well. The big man with the little handcuffs, according to what he told us, he was tricked by the chief warder. He said he knew nothing about it. Of course he said that. I'd say the same thing. Just who was behind that jailbreak all those years ago? Clint's autopsy. You mentioned the autopsy of Clint Van Zieks. It was at a time when carrying out autopsies of murder victims was very unusual. It's still not a practice that's observed in our country, even now. It turned out that he was the Professor's final victim, and when the autopsy was performed, Mama was present, although only as a secondary assistant. The person leading the procedure was called Dr. John H. Wilson. Oh, interesting. That's right, my daddy. And there was one other person present, the primary assistant. Mikotaba Jigoku. He was a visiting student from the Far East. Wait, a visiting student? It must have been my father, Yujin Mikotaba. I had no idea Professor Mikotaba had been involved in something so important. But the outcome of that historic autopsy was the discovery of a vital piece of evidence that led to the capture of the Professor. So that's how they came to identify Genshin Asuki as the infamous mass murderer. Do you happen to know anything about that piece of evidence? Can you tell us more? Would you like to see the records for yourself? What? Would that be alright? What's the point of keeping records if people can't look at them? They're filed under V at the back of those cupboards, with the other records from the last decade. Thank you. Let's see. Van Zieks. Van Zieks. That's strange. What, Mr. Naruhodo? They aren't here. There's nothing under Van Zieks. There must be. Perhaps somebody took them away? No, no one's allowed to take documents related to the Professor case out of this room. But you're right. They're gone. Well, when was the last time somebody looked at them? Do you remember? Was it fucking Lord Strongheart again, huh? Or was it Kazuma was here as well, wasn't he? It was... Oh yes, I remember now. It was 2 years ago. Oh, never mind. A consulting detective came one day saying that he'd like to see the records. Sholmes? No, you don't mean... Herlock Sholmes was his name. Oh, God. Deep down I knew that was coming. Do you think he stole the records? Oh no, surely not. Iris, that can't be right. Can it? Iris? Interesting. Reno? I hope you don't mind, but... What, is it Iris? So God sneeze. I'll be saving here now at the next possible thing, so you'll not miss much, so. Good night, Doodle. See you later on. Have a good sleep. The next scene transition I'll be saving, so you'll have that for tomorrow. Bye bye. See ya. What is it, Iris? I just remembered something very important I have to do. I'm gonna go leave you now. Oh, it's very sudden, Iris. Well, we'll come with you then. Oh no, no, there's no need. You and Reno can take your time here. Bye for now then. Good luck. Wait a minute, little girl. Me? I remember now. You've been here before, haven't you? Have you, Iris? Was Iris here with Sholmes? Yes, 2 years ago, when the detective came. You were with him, weren't you? You were a living specimen then too. That's the way it usually works, yes. Was I? I really don't remember. Anyway, sorry, but I must dash. Wait, Iris. I'll bring up a pot for you when you get home. What's the matter with her? She's behaving really strangely all of a sudden. Well, in that case, we won't keep you any longer either. It's been quite a while since I had any visitors. This was really fun. But next time you come, I prefer it if you were ready for dissection. I can't make any promises, sorry. She was pleasant. A bit strange that the records of Clint Van Zeek's autopsy have disappeared. I think we've asked all we came to ask now. I think we need to head back to Sholmes' office and see if we can catch him. Sholmes' suite, sorry. He's not here. Let's see. Apparently we haven't been to the Fresno Street room in some time. Okay, let's go. Alright, that's what we'll save for today then. Very interesting now. Well, we will pick up on this on Monday. We'll have Monday and Tuesday some more of the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. Thanks for watching. Tomorrow we will continue Dredge, which I'm looking forward to. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'll see you later on. Good night. Loop. Save again for good measure.